Time to rank all 30 One Piece arcs. This is a video I've been wanting to do for a while, and I figured now's a good time to do it. We're in a really good part of the manga, and yeah, let's just get down to it. So I went on the One Piece wiki, and I compiled all the arcs. There's certain segments that are like, post-Enies Lobby, post-war, return to Shabondi. I'm not including those. Those to me just feel like they're part of those arcs. If you're not current on One Piece, don't watch this video. If you don't want to be spoiled. Number 30 is Amazon Lily, mainly because I just don't really remember it. He meets Boa Hancock, and I remember they're like really preoccupied with Luffy's balls. That's about it. There's nothing really wrong with it. It's short, and I don't really remember it. 29, Reverse Mountain. It's a really sweet little arc, but it's very short. Obviously, I love Laboon, and you know, it's very sad. But I feel like you don't get the payoff of Laboon till later. So it's just like a nice, fun little arc. Nothing, again, just pretty inoffensive. Number 28, Syrup Village. This one I actually find offensive. I don't like it. I notoriously find this arc very drawn out and irritating. I don't like Kuro. I think his plan is so stupid and it takes way too long. And I feel like Usopp's development happens way later in a much better arc. Watching in the anime is excruciating. It's way too long. In the manga, it's not so bad, but I just do not like Syrup Village, and I every time I have to revisit it, it's an absolute pain in the ass. In fact, the live-action show really like condensed it, and I was like, this is an improvement. Number 27, I'm sort of compiling all the manga cover arcs into one, mainly so that I can say there's 30 arcs, and it's a nice title for the video. But that includes, like, you know, Buggy's crew, the Kobe Meppo stuff. I guess there's, like, also, I don't know, the Straw Hats are, like, after they get separated, that's technically, like, a little arc, at least in the anime. And, you know, I like the content in these little arcs, but there's a reason why in the manga, they're just pictures. In anime form, they're definitely drawn out too much. They're really trying to just wring as much content as they can out of them. There's fun content, for sure. I do love the cover arcs in the manga in general, so that's just where these are gonna land. Number 26 is Jaya. It's another one of those sort of transition arcs, and it's fine. Bellamy's a dipshit. Yeah, he gets to meet Blackbeard, I guess. It just, you know, it's one of those. It's setting up for Skypiea. It's fine. Number 25 is Orange Town. It's a classic one. Very silly. I do like Buggy. Oh, the little, you know, Cho-Cho, the dog. He's cute, but it's very simple. I feel like a lot of those early One Piece arcs are cute, but man, does it hit after a certain point, which you'll see it's way higher on the list, and you know what arc I'm talking about. It feels very simplistic, and not in a bad way, but not in a substantial way. Number 24 is Fishman Island. It's really just an excuse for the Straw Hats to be like, look how cool we are now. The villain is terrible. I guess intentionally so, but doesn't make him interesting. Sanji being in danger because of nosebleed from perversion is just... Number 23 is Romance Dawn. You know, just the beginning of the manga. It's classic, it's good stuff. Nothing really to say about it. You know, everyone knows the iconic beats. It's a cute, strong start, but that's about it. Number 22 is Whiskey Peak. This one's a fun one. Yeah, it's kind of short and maybe one note, but just watching Zoro fuck up a bunch of guys is really entertaining. See Vivi for the first time. There's some fun villains in it. It's annoying that Luffy and Zoro fight. I don't like that, and that's maybe why it's lower. Felt very forced. Like, we need, like, forced conflict here. Straw Hat fighting Straw Hat conflict, he does it so beautifully well in a much better arc. Here, it just felt really stupid. Number 21 is Punk Hazard. Yeah, I mean, Caesar Clown is really entertaining, and the body swapping is also really fun. But it's a lot of running around, from what I remember. Monet's hot. Virgo sucks. Kind of feels almost fillery to me. Number 20 is Long Ring Long Land. I think a lot of people hate this arc. I love Foxy. I think he's hilarious. Some of the funniest parts, I think. Sure, you know, you might be like, well, how, you know, Luffy's like wagering crew members. It's just a silly little arc, and it's one of those arcs that works for me. It hits, like, I think the comedic beats really hit well, so I have a soft spot for it. I think it's very entertaining. Number 19 is Thriller Bark. I think the aesthetic carries a lot of this. I do love the Halloween, you know, Nightmare Before Christmas aesthetic. Brook is my least favorite. This is like peak Brook. Like, his backstory is so heartbreaking. Moria's a fun villain, but all the sort of side characters are kind of irritating. Absalom, I can't stand. Perona's really good. Should I raise it higher? Perona her alone is like making me reconsider. I think I'm gonna keep it here because I feel like the best part from Thriller Bark is the end with Kuma and Zoro, but this one also has a lot of running around in it, from what I remember. It's fun. It's not a bad arc, a little forgettable. Number 18, Reverie. It feels weird to consider this an arc because it has all the content. Like, I love the shit between arcs where you see like all the updates in the world and all the, you know, what's happening, all the interesting drama and developments. And this is like a whole arc of that. So content-wise, it's incredible. Like, you get so much juicy stuff, and I love seeing returning characters interacting with each other. But it's short, so it's like it's hard to compare it to like stuff where you get like a really long, substantial, full arc. So yeah, nothing wrong with Reverie. I think it's great content, but it's hard to compare it to fully fleshed arcs. Number 17, Skypiea. I think the ending of Skypiea and the payoff is incredible. And I also think Enel is a great villain. But oh my god, it drags. I don't care for any of the characters who aren't Enel. I remember back in the day, people were like, oh, you should skip Skypiea. And I'm like, no, absolutely not. Like, you must watch it or read it. One, I think some of the best stuff is like Robin just getting to spend time with the Straw Hats. If you skip that, that's insane. Like, that's where all the development is, like, especially for what's coming next. Really, the payoff, what's his name, Mont Blanc Norland? That whole backstory is really great stuff. It just is kind of a bummer that most of it I don't care about, and I don't like those characters. Man, that like last, I don't know, 25%, oh, it slaps. So I just wish that quality carried through all of it. Number 16, Dressrosa. Very similar to Skypiea. Oh, just excruciatingly long. And not in a good way. Yeah, there's good stuff, but a lot of frustrating stuff too. A lot of really bad characters. I love Doflamingo, and even I'm like, this is too much Doflamingo. I'm sick of this guy. It was also the arc that made me jump ships to the manga. I was watching up through Dressrosa, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. I do intend to go back, because I think I left off in the anime in like Whole Cake, beginning of Whole Cake, and I do want to watch through everything now. Maybe the worst the anime has been ever in terms of animation quality and pacing. Pacing was horrible. I think my favorite part of it is how it ends. Part of that is just the relief that it's ending. Should I lower this? Number 15 is Zoe. I'm biased, you know, my character, Cat Viper, is from this arc. I think it's a really good short arc. I love the minx. The reveal that Raizo was there the whole time is really heartbreaking. I love that. And I'm impressed that it manages to like have like interesting lore and a really emotional payoff in a pretty like short amount of time. It's hard to compare it to some of the other arcs because it's like, kind of like a mini arc, but as a mini arc, I think it's great. Number 14, the Shabondi Archipelago, which for years I said Sabodi, but I believe it's Shabondi. This one's also like a mini arc, and I feel like the best part of this is Kuma separating the Straw Hats. That's such an excruciatingly emotional moment. But as an arc, it's like setup, right? You set up the supernovas. Kizaru, I like Kizaru a lot. I think the reason why this one places much higher is just that moment where Kuma separates the Straw Hats is so... And seeing Luffy in such despair is so heartbreaking. Number 13 is Logtown. I love Smoker. Smoker's one of my favorites. He's great. Luffy at the you know, execution place is just, oh, when he's smiling, it's so good. Another setup arc, but it's just strong throughout. Perfect example of just tantalizes you, doesn't outstay its welcome, and it's got some really iconic moments in it. Number 12 is Baratie. I used to be a lot harder on this arc. I used to like really dislike kind of like how it dragged, but wow, now that I've seen Dressrosa, Baratie is a drop in the bucket in terms of dragging. Sanji's backstory is so good. His relationship with Zeph is just beautiful. It's got Zoro Mihawk. Don Krieg sucks ass. I hate him. He's not a good villain. You know, this goes up. mainly because Sanji's so good. He's not always so good. Number 11, Little Garden. I love this little arc. I love Mr. 3. I think he's hilarious. The scene where the wax is falling on them and Zoro's like, I gotta do a good pose. The giants are fun. Sanji gets to be really cool in it. It's great. It's just a solid little arc, and everyone kind of gets to have a fun role in it. I love Mr. 3. He's so stupid. I love that guy. And the way Luffy just punches him after he's like, ooh, can you find me? Bam. Classic. Absolutely classic. Number 10 is Drum Island. Chopper's backstory is one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever read. I cry every time. We did like a One Piece charity reading, where we read like through the manga, and I was playing Hiluluk, and I got choked up. Like the scene where he's like, you know, I'm getting choked up thinking about it, where he dies. I'm like, oh my god. And like the reveal, the Chopper was like, wow, I'm getting emotional thinking about. That's how strong this arc is. Yeah, I might drag a little bit as they're going up the mountain and stuff, but I do love Wapol. He's such a dumbass, but I love him. Having strong character backstories in an arc really goes a long way, and boy, does that finale just punch you in the gut with emotion. That's like the best parts of One Piece for me, where I'm just crying in the club, and Drum Island is just, oh. Number 9 is Whole Cake Island. It's super fun. Big Mom is amazing. I will admit, though, I've only read it, and so my memory of things can be a little wonky. But overall, though, just by looking back on it, the experience, I had a great time. Capone, who I thought was like a nobody character, is so great. I do love Katakuri. I love his design. I think he's a really fun villain. Yeah, and like a lot of Straw Hats get to do cool stuff in it. Also, Jinbei comes back. Sanji, just what a redemption arc. Sanji gets to be cool again. Sanji gets to be relevant again. And his backstory is great. These things can change as I look back on things. And so I could see Whole Cake going up as maybe if I revisit it in the anime, it'll go up for me. Number 8 is Egghead. It feels weird to rank an arc when it's not done yet, but wow, is Egghead good. This one is the most tentative, because it could go up or down, and I think there's a lot of recency bias for me. The setting's fun, the Vegapunks are super fun. Oh man, the Kuma stuff. Whew. Finally, this Kuma development. You know, Oda does a really good job of like, oh, here's a character that like, you never really cared that much about. Bam. I love this character. I'd die for this character. It remains to be seen where this will finally land, but it's really good right now. Number 7 is Alabasta. It's just classic One Piece, right? Crocodile is incredible. Still maybe my favorite villain ever in One Piece. He's so good at doing ends for arcs, and that scene where they show the X marks for Vivi, oh, it's so good. Like any long arc, yeah, it can drag here and there, but I think the villains are great. The Luffy Crocodile fight is iconic. Classic One Piece. Number 6 is Wano. Wano is truly amazing, and it's impressive that an arc that's pretty new has gone this high. I felt like I was crying like every other week. Oh man, there's so much good shit in it. It also helps that, like, you know, this is where the anime got really good again. I haven't watched it, but I've seen clips. I mean, Yamato's great. Gear 5 Luffy? Come on! Gear 5 Luffy was such an incredible reveal. It's starting the era also of just funny Luffy fights. Just like cartoony Luffy fights is one of the best things that's ever happened. You can tell that he really wanted to tell this story for a long time. Boy, does it pay off. Gangbusters quality throughout. Number 5 is Arlong Park. I always tell people, if you try One Piece and get through Arlong Park and you're not on board, quit. Because to me, that is the sign of like, oh, this is a new level of like, I'm in. Nami's backstory is so just brutal. Arlong is such a good villain in that way. So Luffy putting the straw hat on Nami, them helping her, powerful stuff. And so if you read or watch that and you're like, I'm like, don't continue. You don't get it. I mean, frankly, you don't get it. Like this is like peak One Piece. And if you are not invested by that point, if you're like, then I sincerely don't think it's for you. Because for me, it's such a huge jump from the arcs before it, where I'm like, wow, this is moving, truly moving. It's a very important arc for me because of how just powerful it is. Number 4, Water 7. Oh boy. I feel like, so I'm just gonna say it. Number 4 and number 3. Water 7 is 4, Enies Lobby is 3. And they feel like one giant arc to me. Luffy, Usopp. Man. Just the tension of the whole Going Merry situation is so palpable. And I love that. I love these characters who have, they've been together for so long, but they're having real interesting drama, and they have to, overcome this conflict. And it's something I never would have expected. Like, Luffy and Usopp are gonna have like a dramatic fight, and it's gonna be really emotional. It's phenomenal. I don't know, it's like watching a divorce or something. It truly was like, wow, I really care about these guys. Enies Lobby, whew! CP9 is so fun. Robin just screaming, "I want to live." Oh, fuck! Destroying the flag. Again, I consider all one arc. And the only reason Enies Lobby is high is because of the Robin scene. I am getting emotional thinking about scenes, and that's how strong, how good One Piece is. And man, people are like, One Piece is too long. Oh, you're missing out. But now let's get into my 2 favorites. Number 2, Impel Down. Number 1, Marineford. Here's some backstory on my One Piece experience. And I might be judged for this, and that's okay. So back when I was really young, I read the manga One Piece up through Skypiea. And I really liked, Arlong Park and Alabasta. But Skypiea, when what's his name, Satori appeared, it was like, ha ha ha! I'm a big ball guy! And I was like, I really don't care anymore. Skypiea broke me, actually, which is why it's kind of lower, even though I acknowledge it's a very good arc in its own way. So I stopped reading it. Years later, I would kind of catch wind of things that were happening. Go, oh, that happened? Oh, that's kind of interesting. Oh, wait, that character came back? Because to me, I think something that kind of bothered me about, bothered is the wrong word, but at the time it did bother me. The first half of One Piece, it felt like there were a lot of fake out deaths, which there were, and I still think that's a problem. Like, what's his name? The stupid bird guy, Pell? In Alabasta, fake dying. Or they do it in Skypiea too, the old guy. There was just so many, oh, this character's dead! Just kidding, he's totally fine. Let's move on. And I guess it felt like there was a lot of lack of consequences. They're gonna do all this stuff, and no one's gonna die, and then they're gonna move on. And it didn't feel like stuff was returning. It felt like stuff felt self-contained, even though there was great stuff, of course. So when I got to Skypiea and I was like, oh, these new bad guys I don't care about and nobody's gonna die. And then I was hearing about what was going on in Impel Down and Marineford. Crocodile coming back. I mean, all those bad guys coming back. Luffy having to team up with them to break out of the prison. Them going to this giant war at Marineford, and all the characters are there. I was like, whoa. This sounds fucking awesome. Ace dies, right? It's oh, so all the things that I kind of had issues with as a kid, I was completely wrong. Ace dying is such a good move. Such a good character development for Luffy. Hearing about that stuff, that was what got me to start at the beginning of One Piece and watch it. To me, that's why those two... And I also kind of consider them one arc, even though they're technically 2 arcs. To me, Impel Down and Marineford are just so interconnected. Oh, and man, fucking Mr. 2, Bon Clay. Oh, it's so good. It's the climax of the first half, right? It's so incredibly good. Laugh Tale is gonna be fucking bananas. It's gonna be this times 1,000. So good, man. It's all that stuff in Reverie and all that juicy stuff of oh, what's happening in the world? What's happening in the world? What are these characters doing? It all culminates into this grand, not finale, but midway point finale that is just great. Alright, well, that was all 30 One Piece arcs ranked. I'm looking forward to more Egghead, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series. Maybe these will change over time, but right now, this is where my rankings are. Peace.